Hello, hello, long time no see. It's been a long time, to say the least, that I've actually gone and sat down and filmed a video for you guys. But what better time than January to film my monthly reading wrap up. Oh, I just dropped a book. Oh no, that is not good. If you are close to me in my life, or follow me on Bookstagram or whatever, you would know that I am normally a reader regularly in the past, but 2022 was when I really knuckled down and started to read regularly. So my goal for 2022, my reading goal for the whole year, was 12 books. I thought one a month, not bad, doable, especially with uni, life's hectic. Well, I just want to let you know that I read 65 books last year. And bear in mind, my yearly goal was 12. I've done that in 1 month. In January, 1 month, I've read 12 books and I'm so proud of myself. My yearly goal from last year has been done in 1 month. Like, what? So my first book of the year was obviously very fitting for the occasion, and it was This Year's For Me and You by Emily Bell. Ignore this thing. As you can see in the background, I do it to all of my books to make my bookshelf match my room because I'm annoying. But this book was really good. I think I rated it, let me just double check what is good about this video if I don't check what I rated them first. So this book follows the main character called Celeste, and her and her best friend Hannah have been best friends for 18 years, so since they were really, really young. When they were younger, the two best friends made a pact to spend every single New Year's Eve together because New Year's was like their kind of holiday. It was the only time that they could really see each other. But the two best friends did their yearly tradition of meeting up and having a sleepover every New Year's Eve for a good 10 years, I want to say. Don't know the exact number, but one year, Hannah, one of the best friends, sadly passed away in a tragic skiing accident. So obviously at this point we follow Celeste's journey of mourning her best friend, grieving, until she finds a list of Hannah's New Year's resolutions that she made obviously the New Year's before she died. So once Celeste has got this list, there's 12 on there, so she's like, I'm going to do 1 a month, I'm going to live for my best friend. She does struggle with it because obviously she's still grieving, she's still mourning, she doesn't want to live and be happy without her best friend because she's like, how can I be happy in a life without Hannah in it? And it's a nice story. She learns things from each resolution, and I don't know, I think it's really cute. And also there is a hint and subplot of romance in there. She does find love. She gets help to do the resolutions from this guy called Patrick, who she's also known since she was younger, and obviously we see their romance grow along the story as well. And it's just really good. I mean, I rated it 3.5 stars, so but it is good. It is good. The second book that I read in January was Truly Devious, #1. I think there's 5 books now in the series, but I've only read 2 of them, but I'll get onto that in a minute. This book follows Stevie. She is the main character, and she goes to a boarding school of people with, I guess, interesting hobbies. So like her friend was into making movies and things, someone else, I don't know, like really specific hobbies, and she was interested in solving true crime, specifically the case that happened years ago of Truly Devious. So in 1968, I believe, there was a note left and there was bodies found and things like that, and there was a riddle, and it was signed by someone called Truly Devious. So obviously Stevie's trying to get to the bottom of it and basically find out who Truly Devious is, what happened, why these people are dying, what happens. There's people that die along the way in the book, won't say who, but yeah, it's a solid story. However, I did only rate it 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book, it was interesting, it was fun, but it's just, I mean, how many pages? It's like over 400 pages and nothing really happens. Like, you'd think a mystery book would be filled up with plots and twists and turns and jump scares and all this kind of stuff, but it just wasn't. It got marketed to me in a video, in a TikTok I think it was, and it said, if you loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then you will love Truly Devious. And as you guys probably know, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is one of my favourite books ever, and I love it so much. So I thought, oh my god, I love Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I'm gonna love this. But it just wasn't. I think that might be why I didn't like it as much, because I had this high standard of it to be as good as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and it just wasn't. I feel like it isn't even the fact that it's a bad book, it's just the fact that when a big plot twist would happen, it wasn't like a big revelation, whereas in some, like most books, when something is revealed, it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But this one, it's like, okay, and she moves on. Like, there's not, it never focuses. It is quite fast paced, which is good. I think if it was slower, I would have probably just DNF'd it, but I don't know, it just wasn't giving me exactly what I wanted. but obviously there is other parts to the story and other parts to the series, so I thought, okay, I'm definitely gonna delve in and go to the second book because I just wanted to see if it would progress, but we'll get onto that more in a second. After years and years of everyone telling me to get a Kindle and me saying, no, I love paperback books, I'll never read anything but paperback, there's nothing better than smelling a book, there's nothing better than just holding a book in your hand, I got a Kindle. But when I tell you that it was one of the best decisions ever, I'm gonna tell you that. I will probably do a whole separate video on the perks of getting a Kindle and like things like that, but it was, I read so much faster on this thing, you would not even believe. But obviously, getting the Kindle came, oh, the dog. Getting a Kindle led me to discover my favourite book of this year so far. The Mindfuck series. So the first book in the, I don't want to keep saying the word fuck, the mindf series is called Scarlet Angel, and it's number 1, and you follow the points of view of Lana and Logan. So Lana is actually a serial killer, and she's obviously getting revenge for something that happened in her childhood, obviously not going to say what it is, and Logan's an FBI agent trying to solve that case. Boom. It was the first book of this year that I read that was dual point of view, and it was nice to get both sides of the story. As someone, I don't know if you know this, but I study criminal psychology at uni, so I'm very in the middle of the criminal side and the sort of policing side of it all, because we learn about criminal behaviour, we learn about the minds of criminals and things like that. So getting both sides of this was actually really helpful in my studies, because it helped me like understand where serial killers may come from, maybe not to put the blame on how they feel and why they're doing what they're doing as much. Why did this story make me feel sorry for Lana? She's a serial killer. This story, I was rooting for that girl, rooting for her. She's a serial killer. I think she ended up killing about like 20 people in these books. And I'm like, yes, you go queen, go girl. Like, surely not, but I loved her to pieces and I agree. And if she came up to me right now and said, can you kill this bitch for me? I'd be doing it. I would absolutely do it. The chokehold that this book, it just had me. Obviously, it's, I didn't even tell you, it's 5 mini stories in one. I was going to put it as one big book on my wrap up, but my Kindle registers it as 5 separate books, so it's 5 separate books. But the first one, oh, 5-star, easy 5-star. Like, I'd recommend that to anyone. Turns out someone at my uni, she might be watching this, saw her on the train the other day and I overheard her talking about it. She was with her friend and I was like, oh, my fuck. And then I went up to her, I was like, I've read that. She was like, I've only read the first one. I was like, trying to be quiet. So the next book that I read after that incredible, amazing mindfuck book is the second book of the Truly Devious series. As I said before, I read this book to see if the story would carry on. As I just said previously though, I rated the first book 3 stars. This one was 2.5. Again, not bad, but it was basically just an even shitter version of the first one. Again, nothing really happened. You know, the actual story was okay, but it just focuses on, there's a certain subplot that just didn't grip me, didn't care, so I was just sort of like trying to get through it. Although there was one thing that happened in this book that was really cool. But again, the rest of the story just diluted it completely and it just wasn't that good. I mean, I can see why other people love this and I can see why other people like these books, but The Vanishing Stair, 2.5 star for me. However, I do kind of think if I didn't read The Risk, which is Mindfuck 1, before this, it probably would have been higher, but my standards were so high set because of the first mindf book that this was just a pure disappointment after that. Like, anything that I read after it, even if it was a really good book, would probably have just been like, eh. After that pure disappointment of The Vanishing Stair, I thought I clearly am craving something in my life that only the Mindfuck series can fulfill. So I literally read the rest of that one back to back. I was like, so there was 4 more books, I just read them back to back. I'm obviously not going to go into detail in each individual book because you get the gist of it from the first book. It just has to carry on, but obviously if I say things from the second book, it's just going to spoil all the other books. But the second one is called Sidetracked and I rated that 3.5 stars. Again, really good, but it was the worst one of the series for me, but wasn't exactly what I wanted. The third one, Scarlet Angel, I do remember in the last clip, in one of the other clips, I accidentally called the first one Scarlet Angel. The first one's actually called The Risk. The third one's called Scarlet Angel, so apologies for that. But that one was a 4 star. solid book. Number 4 is called All the Lies, and that one again was 4-star. Really good, really detailed. I think that was one of the longer ones out of the series, but again, they're like 200 pages, so it was nothing. And Paint It All Red, which is number 5, was a solid 4.5 stars as well. So a must-love, must-read series. I would definitely recommend it to anyone that asks me. Anyone that says, oh, I'm looking for like a thriller kind of vibe, read that. However, I will advise to check trigger warnings because it does focus on some darker topics like sexual assault, abuse, and even the scenes of Lana when she's killing people, because obviously you do get to see that part of the book and a part of her life. They are quite graphic, so if you're not into that kind of stuff, I would maybe steer away from those books. The next book that I read was Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. I'm so bad with names. But this book is about a young girl called Juliet whose mum passes away, and she visits her grave pretty much every day. She's very hung up on about the fact that her mum died. Obviously it's really, really sad, and you would be hung up and sad about it. She didn't really see her mum much because she worked with people in the war doing photography and like articles and things like that. So she didn't really see her mum as much. So I feel like she just feels guilty about not spending as much time with her mum as she possibly should have or could have. There's also a boy called Declan Murphy who is the second main character in this book, and he's a bit of a bad boy, I will say. He ends up doing community service for something that he did, but he does maintenance on the graves in the cemetery, and he finds one of Juliet's letters that she leaves for her mum on her grave, because that's like her thing, letters to the lost. She's writing, and he reads the letter, which breach of her privacy, shouldn't really do that, but he ends up writing back because his sister died and he resonates in how she feels. She was like, oh my god, he's like, I feel the exact same way. I've never been able to put it into words like that, and I don't know. But he ends up writing back and she gets really annoyed at him. She's like, how dare you, that was my private letter for my mum. I know she's not actually going to read it because she's dead, but how dare you? And he's like, I'm so sorry. Turns out they know each other in real life at school, but they sign each letter from an anonymous name, so they don't actually know who each other are. They know each other in real life, so they're like, it's like enemies. However, in the letters they're friends, and obviously they then find out who each other are, and it's so I actually think this was a really good book. So I did rate it 3 stars. However, looking back on it, I think I'm going to go for 3.5. Oh yeah, that is one thing that I didn't like about it, is that the author switched point of views in the middle of a chapter without telling you, and that did confuse me. Obviously once I got adjusted to it, it was fine. It was more at the start of the book. She didn't really stay consistent with it. This isn't an actual example, I'm just gonna, because I can't find one. This bit will all be Juliet, and then it will randomly change to Declan without telling you. Also, it was the first book of this year to make me actually cry. The Mindfuck series did get me really emotional, obviously, but I was so like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It more like angered me. But this one actually did bring me to tears. Not like an actual sob, but I think there was just one singular tear that just came down. The next book that I read was on the Kindle, and it was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. As you know, there was an honourable mention of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series earlier on in this video. So this one is also by her. Love Holly Jackson. However, I really don't want to shit on this book. I did rate it 3 stars. So not perfection, didn't love it, but still good, if that makes sense. The whole premise of the book follows the main character Red. It is written in 3rd person, which, as someone that's, obviously I don't mind 3rd person, all of the Harry Potter books were obviously in 3rd person, and I devoured them. I ate that shit up. And I am used to 3rd person, because a lot of books that I read in childhood were 3rd person. I remember reading my first person book, I was thinking, what the actual fuck is this? Like, obviously a lot of books now are written in 1st person, so when I read that it was 3rd, I was like, okay, like, not the best, but fine. Doable, happy. So the book follows Red in 3rd person and her 5 friends that go on a trip in the RV for, I think it's for like spring break or something like that, but along the way they realise that something's going wrong. They lose cell service, they get trapped in this like little country lane where the RV can't turn around, and then all of their tyres just randomly pop. They've only got one spare tyre. They change one, realise all of the other ones have been blown out as well. It's not a spoiler, but there's a sniper hidden in the woods, and he starts communicating with them through a radio and things like that. The actual premise of the book is actually incredible. It's very well thought out. The writing was okay. However, the main character Red really annoyed me. I feel like if she wasn't so annoying, the book would have probably been a 4-star. I'm gonna sound horrible when I say this, but basically the main character's mum died. Why have I got a theme, by the way, of books? I love reading books about people whose mum died. That isn't a reflection of my mum's relationship with me. I love her to pieces. So Red's mum died. She was a police officer, so Red had like, you know, kind of like instinct and background knowledge on how to deal with criminals and things like that. So when the sniper came, she was like, oh, my mum dealt with this. And that I loved about her. As I said, criminal psych student over here. I know I keep talking about it, sorry, it's just I read a lot of crime books, so that's how I can relate. So obviously she had some sort of background knowledge on how to deal with things like that. However, obviously because her mum died, the whole book was just her feeling sorry for herself. She was very forgetful, wasn't very reliable for the other friends as well. She had like stuff written all up her arm with like tick boxes to check, and I just felt like she was just a bit like of a meh character. Normally you follow like I like a strong female lead in a lot of my books, like a girl boss moment, but even towards the end, like she did improve, but it wasn't, she didn't have her like epiphany, like major moment, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I just feel like she was kind of annoying, and she was always talking about her mum dying. Obviously her mum dying was sad, like of course it is, that is the most tragic, horrible thing, but everything she did, it was like, oh, my mum, my mum, my mum. But and obviously that is a major part of her life, and that is how you learn how she grieves and things, but there's literally a killer outside trying to shoot her through the walls of the RV, and all she can think about is her mum, and she's letting that like basically take over her whole life. She's like forgetting things, she's not being as nice to her best friend, she's not, you know, she's just annoying. She's just so annoying, and I feel bad saying that, but she just was. Other people may love her, other people might relate, but I don't know. We've only got 2 books left in this wrap up. And the second to last one is Shatter Me. I've got the whole series down there waiting to be read. Those are my Harry Potter books, by the way, if you're wondering. It came in a box set. Anyway, and this was my first ever dystopian book that I've read. I believe, maybe I have read one, I just didn't know what it was at the time. Like, I didn't actually know that that was like a thing. Maybe that's just so ignorant of me, but I don't know. Is Hunger Games dystopian? I haven't even read them. I've watched the films, but that's how I'm thinking. I rated this 4.5 stars. I did want to rate it 5. However, so many people tell me that the next books in the series are even better than the first one. So I'm like, why would I rate this one 5-star if the next ones are even better? I'm currently reading Unravel Me, only a little bit of the way in. But she still doesn't really understand her true capabilities yet. So I feel like until I've read all of the books is when I can learn how to rate them properly. And also the character Kenji needs an honourable mention because he's so funny, and he's actually my sister-in-law's, Kyra, hi, you're probably watching this, her favourite character in the whole series, and she was like, I love him, he's like my best friend. And now I can see why, because I love him too. So we're gonna have to fight over him because he's so funny, and I've only seen like, again, a tiny little bit of his character, so I can't wait to obviously see where that goes. And I can't wait, I just know that I'm gonna love this series a lot. Carrying on with the Shatter Me theme, the last book that I read in January was Destroy Me, which is the first novella. I didn't know whether to read the novellas because a lot of people that I know that have read these books read the main books and didn't even know the novellas existed until after, and then went back and read them. So I was like, do I bother? Depends how much I love the first one. I said if I love it, I'll get invested. However, loved the first book, so went on to read the novella. I actually bought Destroy Me and Fracture Me in one, so I've like got my little bookmark on Fracture Me right now. So obviously I'm waiting till I finish Unravel Me to start Fracture Me. It's so confusing. I've actually had to write down a list and tick them off as I go because my brain just can't handle all of this going on in my tiny little head. What I did like about Destroy Me, I've read novellas before that occur at the same time as the first book, just from someone else's point of view, and to be honest, I'm not a great fan of that. So for example, Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, liked that book. And Losing Hope. Losing Hope was the exact same story, just from, I can't even remember his name, Dean Holder, his point of view. So I feel like it was just me repeating the same story. It was the same dialogue, same thing. Obviously there was aspects of it that was different, but I liked how Destroy Me carried on from where the first book left off, just with someone else's point of view, because that helped me get into it. I feel like if it was the same story, just different character, it's like, okay, like not the best. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. That is one thing, it's only 85 pages on the Kindle. So I rated it 3-star, but I feel like if there was more content to rate, I probably would have rated it a bit higher, but obviously there's not much to go by. So I said I even said like to my fiance Riley, I was like, if there was a lot more going on, I could have probably rated a bit higher. But the actual story was good. It's really nice to actually see Warner's point of view, because obviously he's like this arrogant asshole in the first book. And obviously I do know from accidental spoilers, because I wasn't interested in reading this series at all. I was like, oh, whatever, not a big deal, not a big deal. And then Kyra, who I spoke about just now, she was like, you have to read it. It's my favourite book. I was like, if I read Shatter Me, you read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Mindfuck. That was our deal. And we are both, she's reading Mindfuck right now. So we are getting our end of the bargain in and sorting our lives out. I'm finally going to shut up and stop talking now, but that is my January wrap up of 2023. Now I'm getting back into YouTube though. I will be doing more monthly wrap ups. Maybe I might miss 1 month because other content might prioritise it and things like that, but let me know any other videos that you may want to see. My Bookstagram is at ellarose.reads, same as my YouTube, so feel free to go and follow me over there as well. I love watching Booktube videos so much that I was like, why not? I need to be a part of this community because I love it. I'm on Bookstagram, love that. And yeah, but that is all from me today. Thank you very much for watching. I love you guys lots and I'll see you very, very soon. Right, bye.